afternoon. Yeah, still morning. I'm just out for a 100k ride. It's a bank holiday weekend, lovely weather. It's about 10 degrees, which is ideal temperature really, I reckon, for getting into the short sleeves and shorts. Once you get warmed up a little bit, it's just about right. Oh, it's a lovely day. A lot more cloud now though, but anyway. Well, recently I did my Bothy adventure. It was my first time I've really put bivvying and camping together with cycling, and both of those I've done a reasonable amount of over the years, but never put them together. So that was the first time I did that. I've done it again recently, but a different sort of bike packing, if you like. So what I was going to talk about are these mini breaks where you just go away for 2 days. It's all very well going out on your bike like you normally do for a road ride. Ooh, this one. For a road ride. But I tend to get a little bit bored of going around my same local area. So it's nice to do something a little bit different. And it's not often that we get time to go bike packing. I'd love to go off and do, I've got plans across Spain and France, but trying to get the time to do that is really difficult. So getting these shorter breaks, I think it's a really good way of mixing up your riding a little bit and having a bit of an adventure. So a couple of days is just a mini adventure, if you like. I love the Somerset levels, but there are two different types. So those two rides I've done now have been really different. The first ride was, I would call it a challenge mini adventure. It was 100 miles a day, it was long miles, it was wet, cold, and very windy quite a lot of that time, sometimes a couple of those which I really don't like. So it was a challenge. There were a lot of hills. There was a good almost 10,000 feet of climbing in the first day. I was on my own. It was in the dark, a fair bit of it. A lot of it was unknown. So for me, that was it. The whole thing was a bit of a challenge, trying to put the two together. First time I'd done it, first time I'd worked out what kit to take. I'd loaded my bike up particularly heavy just to see what it's like for something else later in the year. Yeah, so there's that one. The other sort of ride is the one I did quite recently, which is very different. It was more about fun. It was 60 miles out and about 55 miles back. It was with a friend of mine. We set off quite late on the day, so we spent the morning packing the bike up. Then we set off at about 1 o'clock, I think. I did about 6 hours cycling, quite slowly, not really rushing it. There was lots of off-road. Started off really mainly road down to Dorchester to get to the right place, but then some great UK cycle routes, really quiet roads, and then we went into some gravels, single track, double track, onto some grass, went around the coastline. The weather was great. Where are we going? Left next. The weather was great. And yeah, well, just a glorious, fun, enjoyable ride. Yeah, around the coastline, down into a place called Swanage. I'll put the route up, but into a place called Swanage. Had fish and chips. Got to the campsite, put the camp up just before dark, literally 5 minutes before dark. So we had a fair bit of planning to work out our rough timings. But importantly, we worked out our timings to have plenty of flex. So we only planned on about 12.5, 13 miles an hour average, which is pretty slow if you're on a road bike, but that works beautifully. So we got there just in time, sorted the tent out, talk about tents in a second, and then went to the pub, a few drinks, came back, slept the night. Bought 2 new bits of kit, which I'll talk about in a second. I'll show those separately when I get home. there you go. So completely different side. And then the next day, got up early, cycled along the coastline. Yeah, amazing. But what I want to do is put up a video of that, a few clips of video that I made up on the screen. But anyway, yeah, many adventures. I think you've got to plan it, and that means the weather and the route, and you really need to look at the route quite carefully. But the whole point is it's an adventure, so I wouldn't plan it, but just be ready to go and go different ways. Think about the different options that you could do. What if this is a terrible road? You don't want to turn it into a nightmare. You want to have a few plans up your sleeve, but the idea is you freestyle it a little bit. Yeah, I'm hooked on them. So I'll plan a couple more before the end of the year, and at least one of those I want to do through work, get a few more people involved. Ooh, do you see that? So I've done on the Bothy one, I've done shown you sort of the kit that I take, so I won't go through that again. But so kit, you don't need to spend a lot of money. Chris, you know, did it on a budget. I did it really well on a budget with some really good quality stuff. A relatively cheap blow-up mattress, a very basic sleeping bag, because you're probably only going to do this if it's good weather. So get a 1 or 2 season sleeping bag. Means it's going to be lighter. I thought mine was a 2 or 3 season, or maybe a 4. Well, I knew it wasn't a 4 season really. I got a 4 season. It definitely isn't one of those, nowhere near as bulky. So I just had a 1 or 2 season. But you can add a sleeping bag liner into there. You can get a silk one, which is about £50. They basically add a season to the warmth of the sleeping bag. Why go for silk? Only reason I can see is it's it's half the size and half the weight of a cotton one, but it's about a third, 3 times more expensive than a cotton inner. So I'll probably go for a cotton inner if I'm honest. The tent, you need to decide whether you're going to go for a bivvy or a tent. I've got both options, and I have spent a reasonable amount of money on both options, and I probably shouldn't have spent that sort of money. But the bivvies are really good if you are going in a direction and you're going for distance and you just want to get down, sleep, roll it back up again and get going. Then a bivvy is definitely the way ahead. The bivvy I've gone for is about 650 grams. It hasn't got a hoop in it yet. When I add the hoop, I think it's going to be up to 750 grams. The tent, which I'll show you in a second, is an amazing bit of kit. Again, 750 grams, so the two are the same. Mind you, tents are generally, if you're going below 1 kilogram, you're going to be paying some big bucks. I would say over a kilogram, maybe 1.5 kilograms for a tent. But I think the bigger issue is how compact it is. And where you can stuff it. So bivvies are generally going to be a lot easier to pack away and lighter than an equal sort of quality tent. Tent's bulkier, heavier. Probably generally, I would say probably for the same sort of price, twice the size and weight. But a bivvy, like I say, is for a bit of wild camping, quick camping. You know, it's not great weather, you just want to get down, get your head down. You're not in a campsite or anything like that, and going to get your head down and get some quick sleep, roll up again, off you go in the morning. That is definitely the way to go, and I've used mine a few times like that. A tent, if you're going to go in a campsite, you want to be able to store your gear, get changed in private, take stuff off your bike, keep it secure. Then quite often a tent is better for that, just nicer. And if you're going to be staying in one place for a little bit, you're maybe going to pop out and go and have an evening meal somewhere, then a tent I would say is the way to go, if you can, and if you can, go with 2 people. If you're going riding with someone else, then consider taking a 2-man tent. Share carriage of it. Ultimately it's going to be a lot lighter to keep you both in a tent, and you can stay warmer. Depends how well you know the other person. Maybe get a 3-man tent if you don't know them that well. Yeah, so you don't have to buy any flashy bags, but Chris got some good bags at a really good price. But you can, I'll get a frame bag, probably a feeder or something like that that straps onto your bars, or maybe a top tube bag. Other than that, onto the bars you can just strap things down. The saddle bag, yeah, I think a saddle bag is a very good idea. You can get a lot of capacity in there. So mine's a 17 litre. You can get a lot of stuff in there, so a saddle bag is a good idea. I think you probably do need some frame bags, but the bar bag you probably don't need. You can just strap things down. But for the bike you take, me and Chris had, I would say probably mid-range bikepacking bikes. But you don't need to spend that sort of money. Clearly you can take any bike. The real big ones are, what can you strap onto it? Bottle cages, things like that. How many bottle cages have you got? Tyres and wheels are one of the biggest things, not only for comfort but for terrain. So when it all goes wrong, what sort of terrain can you deal with? Hi guys, hiya. Hi. Yeah, so Chris, he bought a £50, £50 I think it was, tent. It's a 2-man tent. It's probably double the weight, double the size of mine, but it didn't matter. You know, we're not there to race or anything like that. So I kind of wish that I'd bought one of those. In fact, that was a much smarter idea. So there you go. The bike, again, you don't need an expensive bike. There are all sorts of bikes out there. My hybrid bike, I'd quite happily go with that. It's got pannier racks on front and back, and I haven't spent a lot of money on that at all. But I would quite happily go for that ride on that bike, because all you're going to do is just reduce the distance that you're going to cycle, and probably the terrain, maybe. So the terrain may be limited by the bike that you take, but a mountain bike, there are all sorts of ways to do this. So don't worry about the cost and the kit. You can look online. There are loads of great YouTube channels that talk about bike kit and so on. Cooking gear, just have a think about whether you're going to cook or whether you don't have to cook. You can just go into a pub, go in a cafe, get some sandwiches. It doesn't really matter, just for one night. So you don't need to go out and buy cooking gear. Warm clothes are important. I think certainly if you're in the UK, warm and wet, just be prepared for one of those, unless you're really sure it's going to be great weather. Something else that's worth talking about, which I did recently, is update the mapping on my Garmin. Now I bought another Garmin as well, which, well, it's a Garmin Edge. No, it's not. It's a Garmin E-Trek Touch 35T. Now, Garmin E-Treks are generally used by long-distance cyclists. They're not really a cycling head unit. They're just a handheld GPS, but they can be mounted onto a pretty crap mount, admittedly, but they can be mounted onto your bike. They have a few features for bikes, but they really are all about touring. Built-in compass, not great data screens, mapping's the same. Actually a lot easier to move the mapping around. It's also a lot easier to look at elevation profiles. But the big thing about them is that they use AA batteries. Providing you use the right sort of AA batteries, i.e. lithium, you get 16 hours out of them. And of course, you can get batteries, alkaline or lithium, anywhere around the world. So you don't have to worry about charging your GPS unit. So they're used quite a lot by bike packers. Most of them use a normal E-Track E30. I've just got the touchscreen version of it. It's a little bit newer, but they're not that new. Anyway, what was I talking about? Mapping. I'll show you that one in a second. So I've got rid of Garmin mapping. I got so fed up with it looking down, and I can't read things when it's got a lot of detail. Things aren't clear, it's not cycling specific, I don't think. Not that impressed. So what I got was it's called Open Street Mapping. It's an open source style of mapping. So it's free. You can download it on a website. You select the area that you want. So I've selected the whole UK and France, a bit of Spain. Select that. In the end, it gets processed. You get an email with a link. You download it. You then stick it onto your Garmin. There's loads of. There's a great site that I used for showing me how to do it. Yeah, actually quite easy, and it's free. So what's the mapping like? It is brilliant. All cycling specific. It's not cluttered. Now, if I cycle, when I'm cycling around the levels, you got all these river bits, little tributaries. I don't know what they're called really. Canals along drainage, and all those are marked on here, and it just causes a really cluttered, confused picture. Things aren't clear. Whether it's a trail, a single track, a double track, it's not as obvious. But this new mapping, this open source mapping, open street mapping, is fantastic. Now there are a few different types, but there is one specific type which is cycling specific. It's something light. Anyway, I'll put a link into the description for where to go. But all I can say is I'd highly recommend getting this mapping rather than the Garmin mapping for riding a bike. Can you see that? Oh dear, I feel so sorry for them, but at least they're going to keep warm. That's quite funny. Glastonbury has got so much character, so many homeless around here, but not only homeless, people who are travellers and don't actually want to follow society, and that's their choice. And but yeah, I'm going to cycle through what has become, I think, the Glasgow ghetto for travellers. It's quite cool. They've got a skate park in there. Just that's how they want to live. Yeah, so I'll film a little bit of this as we go through the Glasgow ghetto, and then out the other end there's a lane which goes out to the west, out to the east from Glastonbury, which I think I'm going to cycle along now, and I'll film along there. Just loads of people living by the side of the road. But Glastonbury Festival's coming up, really in Pilton, and this guy does it properly. Yeah, he's got some proper, he's permanent. Here we go, into the Glasgow ghetto. I love this place, I think it's got so much character. Yeah, it's just in there, in that field in there. I couldn't really film it, went past too quick, but yeah, it's a load of caravans. Down Hippie Lane, as I call it. Love it. Some of them look like they could drive, others clearly got no chance. Yeah, but hey, it's all here for Glastonbury Festival. I don't mind. So mini adventures, a great way of changing the sort of cycling you're doing something a bit different. I said there are two different types, the sort of a challenging type and a more of a fun, let's take it easy and enjoy a nice ride sort of type. Of course you can mix those up, mix them up, you don't have to just do those two. It can be challenging and fun. Yeah. Go and try it. I'm loving it. I loved it my 2 times. Definitely doing it again. For something a bit bigger next time. Okay, well, just a bit of video now of the ride that I did with Chris. With a bit of music from Grammatics, Slovenian guy. Anyway, love his music. So have a look at it. Different trails, great scenery, bit of fun. Maybe it'll inspire someone to pull the bike out, dust it off, chuck some bags on, buy some straps, strap it all down, and just go for a ride. What the hell? Have fun.
There are
What a great route. Great route. I'll post it to show what it is, what it's like and where it goes. But amazing, great scenery. But I think you got to do it in the decent weather. Quite exposed, but yeah, awesome. There's the coast. Hanging out my hoop. That was a nasty climb. All downhill there now. Fish and chips.
Unless you know somewhere better?
No.